For exactly 365 days, the man who wrote the world's most beautiful love songs was living a double life that would eventually break his own heart. Smokey Robinson finally came clean about a one-year betrayal involving the one woman no one at Motown was supposed to touch, and the fallout was more painful than any song he ever wrote. This was not just a passing fling in the dark corridors of a recording studio. This was a calculated, agonizing secret that threatened to tear down the entire Motown empire. Smokey Robinson was the clean-cut, golden-voiced poet of Black America, married to his bandmate Claudette Rogers. Together, they were the face of young, clean, respectable love. But behind the closed doors of Detroit's Hitsville, USA, Smokey was secretly meeting with Diana Ross, the rising starlet of the Supremes. For 12 months, they shared a forbidden passion that defied every rule of professional loyalty and personal honor. When the truth finally began to leak, it did not just threaten Smokey's marriage. It threatened to destroy his closest friendships, his career, and the very foundation of the record label he helped build from the ground up. To understand how this explosive situation developed, we have to look at the pressure cooker that was Motown Records in the mid-1960s. Smokey Robinson was not just a singer. He was the vice president of the label, the chief songwriter, and the golden boy who could do no wrong. His wife, Claudette, was his partner in the miracles, meaning they lived, worked, and toured together constantly. Yet, even under this intense 24-hour scrutiny, a parallel reality was forming. Diana Ross, then a young, fiercely ambitious singer struggling to get her group, the Supremes, off the ground, had turned to Smokey for help. Smokey became her mentor, her champion, and eventually, her lover. He was the one who brought her to the attention of Motown's founder, Gordy. But what started as professional guidance quickly morphed into something far more dangerous. They began meeting in secret, snatched moments between recording sessions, tour dates, and official business. Every lyric Smokey wrote during this period, songs that defined the era of sweet, innocent romance, was actually carrying a double meaning. While the public listened to the soaring, romantic falsetto of a devoted husband, Smokey was drowning in the guilt of his own deception. Claudette was at home, fighting her own quiet battles. She suffered through a devastating series of 7 miscarriages, desperately trying to start a family with the man she believed was entirely hers. In the background, the shadows were growing longer. Diana Ross's career was skyrocketing, and as her fame grew, so did the danger of their secret being exposed. The office hallways of Hitsville, USA were small, and the rumors began to whisper through the ranks of the session musicians and backing singers. People noticed the prolonged glances, the shared cabs, and the undeniable chemistry in the recording booths. But nobody dared to speak the truth aloud. To accuse Smokey Robinson of infidelity was unthinkable, and to implicate Diana Ross was even worse. They were playing a high-stakes game of hide-and-seek, unaware that the countdown to their exposure had already begun. The stress of keeping this massive secret began to show on Smokey's face, even as he continued to write hits for other Motown artists, including the very women who were competing with Diana Ross for the spotlight. The ultimate betrayal, however, was not just against Smokey's wife, Claudette. It was against his absolute best friend, the founder of Motown, Gordy. While Smokey was secretly slipping away with Diana Ross, Gordy was falling deeply, obsessively in love with her too. Gordy was the man who had stood as godfather to Smokey's own son, Barry Robinson, named in his honor. This was not a standard office affair. It was an incredibly toxic, explosive love triangle operating at the absolute peak of the music industry. The two most powerful men at Motown were sharing the same woman, and neither of them could afford to let the other know. The stakes were raised to an unbearable level when Diana Ross suddenly confronted Smokey with a devastating ultimatum. She looked him in the eye and delivered a line that shattered his double life. She told him she knew Claudette, she knew he still loved his wife, and she refused to keep tearing a family apart. The affair had to end, or she would walk away from him and straight into the arms of his best friend. This abrupt ending did not cure the pain. It only redirected it. Diana Ross did exactly what she threatened to do. She transitioned from Smokey's secret embrace into a highly publicized, decades-long relationship with Gordy. For Smokey, the emotional whiplash was torturous. He had to sit in boardrooms and production meetings next to his best friend, listening to Barry talk about his love for Diana, while knowing that just months prior, he had been the one holding her. The torment of this arrangement bled directly into Smokey's songwriting. In the studio, the music became a confession booth. His hit song, The Agony and the Ecstasy, was not just a clever title, it was a literal description of his daily existence. He was living the agony of losing the woman he loved to his closest confidant and the ecstasy of the secret moments they had shared. He had to produce her records, write lyrics for her, and watch from the sidelines as Barry and Diana became the undisputed king and queen of Motown. Meanwhile, his marriage to Claudette was decaying under the weight of unaddressed guilt. Although the affair with Diana had ended after exactly 1 year, the pattern of secrecy had been established. The pristine image of Smokey Robinson as the ultimate family man was a lie kept alive by the Motown publicity machine. In his later confessions, including an explosive interview with Vlad TV and a candid profile in The Guardian, Smokey attempted to rationalize his actions, stating that we are capable of loving more than one person at the same time, and that society has made this natural human feeling taboo. Back in the late 60s and 70s, that philosophy brought nothing but real-world destruction. The final breaking point for Claudette did not come directly from the Diana Ross affair, but from the collateral damage of Smokey's ongoing double life. The couple had managed to have 2 children, Barry and Tamla, named after the record label and its founder, but the marriage was built on quicksand. In 1984, the ultimate betrayal was delivered when a woman named Candy gave birth to Smokey's son, Trey. Claudette had warned Smokey years earlier that she would not tolerate illegitimate children. When the child's birth was confirmed, the 27-year marriage was instantly over. Their divorce, finalized in 1986, became a brutal, public battleground. Claudette did not slip quietly into the background. She launched a massive lawsuit claiming 50% of his entire songwriting catalog under California law. She argued that because she was a founding member of the Miracles and his wife during his most creative years, his songs were community property. The legal war dragged on for years, exposing the dirty laundry of a man who had once been viewed as a saint. The financial fallout was staggering, but the psychological toll was even worse. Smokey's life began to spiral out of control. He turned to heavy drug use, specifically freebase cocaine, to numb the pain of his collapsing world. He transitioned from a healthy, vibrant superstar into a gaunt, vanishing figure who nearly lost his life to addiction. The man who had once ruled the airwaves was now a ghost of his former self, hiding in the shadows of Detroit and Los Angeles, saved only by a dramatic spiritual intervention at a small storefront church. The collateral damage of this secret love triangle also extended to the children born in its wake. Diana Ross's relationship with Gordy eventually produced a daughter, Rhonda, born in 1971. However, in a desperate bid to maintain appearances and protect the Motown brand, Diana married music executive Robert Ellis Silberstein while pregnant. For nearly 13 years, Rhonda grew up believing Silberstein was her biological father, entirely unaware that the man she saw as a family friend, Gordy, was actually her dad. This web of lies, carefully spun by the elites of Motown, kept the public in the dark while the individuals involved suffered in silence. Smokey Robinson watched all of this unfold from the inside. He watched his best friend raise a child who did not know his true identity, while he himself struggled with the guilt of his own broken family. The pristine, clean-cut image that Motown spent millions of dollars constructing was slowly unraveling, exposing a culture of secrets, lies, and emotional manipulation. The public, who had bought millions of copies of his love songs, was left to piece together the truth of how their idol had fallen so far, realizing that the tracks of his tears were not just a poetic metaphor, but a literal mat of his own self-inflicted grief. Smokey Robinson survived the drugs, the lawsuits, and the wreckage of his first marriage, eventually finding peace and remarriage in 2002. Yet, the ghost of that one-year affair with Diana Ross still lingers in every note of the music they made together. It is a haunting reminder that behind the beautiful melodies of Motown's golden era lay a dark reality of betrayal, heartbreak, and secrets that could only be hidden for so long. When we listen to those timeless tracks today, we are no longer just hearing songs of innocent love. We are hearing the echoes of a double life, a year-long deception, and the profound pain of the man who wrote the world's greatest love songs, but could not save his own heart.